Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my July channel update. Technically, we're in August, but this is going to be for July nonetheless. Wow, has it been an interesting few months. So at this moment in time, folks, we're in a dead period as far as game releases go. But it's never a bad thing, I don't think, because it allows you to pursue some other areas that aren't really available to you when it is all heated up and you're covering new games. As it stands today, we've just started the Everybody Goes to Rapture on the channel, which is going to be taking precedence over everything else because it's new. And new games get a lot more interest usually than old ones, so there's going to be an impetus on pushing that one out. However, as some of my subscribers have told me, the very first video, it has 2 skips on it, 2 Elgato skips, and it subsequently affects the video's flow and it puts the commentary out of sync about, I think it's about 14 minutes into it. What I'm going to do, folks, is because these episodes take so long to upload, I'm going to probably get every video up and then go back and change the first one. I've checked the other ones that I've been uploading and they seem okay. However, it's easy to miss that because sometimes it's just a flicker on the screen and then the commentary's off, and if I spent, you know, every single video I make listening to the entire thing to make sure that it's 100% perfect, I'd never get anything done. And ironically, I used to do that, but I used to do that back when I didn't make quite so many running projects. So nowadays, I generally scan through it and make sure that it's right. And I check like the beginning, I check the middle, and I check the end, and as long as things seem to sync up, it's okay. However, with the technology issues that I've had and that I keep having, every so often it can drift, and it can be difficult to spot unless you're at something pretty concise. So I'm going to talk about them. My HD PVR lasted me a good 4 years. It was a brilliant piece of machinery, but towards the end of its life, it started to drift between what was happening with the audio and what was happening with the picture. And it would drift over seconds and it would put it out of sync, but the entire thing wouldn't be out of sync, it would only be from where it had drifted and then onwards. So it meant that when I was editing, I had to go in, I had to separate audio and video at a certain point and then remap them together so that they flowed correctly. It added a lot of time to a workflow that was already quite long. That, as you can imagine, is a problem, because it's not so bad if you're doing it to 1 2-minute video, but when you're doing it to 50 30-minute videos, it becomes an issue. And maybe if it's only 40 seconds, it soon adds up when you're doing it every single time, and it's something that I just couldn't abide by anymore, and I put up with it for a very long time. And then I purchased an Elgato for like 150 quid or however much I paid for it, the most recent one. A lot of people had told me, oh, the Elgato's really good, it does this, it does that, it sings, it whistles, it's a fucking rock star. So I picked it up, and I've had nothing but problems with it, guys. I've read the reviews on a lot of websites. Some people have had the same problems as me, other people think it's the best thing ever. So it's just one of those unlucky things, but this machine does not fucking work for me. It just doesn't. I hit it as hard as I used to hit the PVR almost every day. On one occasion, and it fucked up. And on every occasion after that, when I do any long recording sessions, which are nowhere near as long as the ones that I've done in the past, it just dies. It doesn't work. And you saw that with the Batman walkthrough. The Batman was just, I've never seen it that bad. It was those skips, but perpetually, for the rest of the fucking thing. And all the things that they say to help this, I've done. I've turned off the playback thing. I've turned off the live recording bullshit where it records everything. You know, I've got the correct update. I've done everything I can to make this piece of machinery work right, and it won't. It's sat behind my TV with a nice, like, flowing airflow behind it. It's cool. It never gets that hot. It's isolated from other things. The fucking thing has the royal treatment, and it's still not working as intended. So I don't know what I'm going to do, really. I want to smash it, but that doesn't help anybody. I'm just the kind of person that when something doesn't work, it makes me want to fucking break it. I might try and sell it or something and be like, yeah, it works perfectly, just like they told me, thank you for the money. But that's not very nice, is it? I don't know. I'll probably give it a break or something. I'm going to buy a PVR too, because I have faith in that brand. They've done me well, and hopefully I'll have more luck. But that's another 100 odd quid out of my pocket there. I don't really want to be spending on something that should fucking work when I bought it. And it's frustrating, but it's just one of those things. It's the stuff you don't really hear, but there that is. So if you're watching a video and the audio's out of sync, or something happens weird on the screen, please try and timestamp it and let me know, because it enables me to try and fix it, and I know there's a problem. I make so many videos, guys, that it's very difficult to catch everything. Like, I can't be perfect all the time as much as I wish I was, and I need your help, and that's why this is a mutually beneficial relationship at times. So I'm very grateful to people who do shout out, basically. But that's the issue with the technology at the moment. There are a host of other issues technologically, but those are nowhere near as bad as this, so I'm not going to address them because there's no need. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Patreon, because that's what these updates do quite a lot. And I need to address some things as well. My Patreon as it stands has been really successful, and I'm very happy with it. It's not gone the way I wanted it to go, but it's doing its own thing. And you might wonder, what did you want it to be like? Well, basically, I wanted everybody to give me $1,000 so that I could live the luxury and never have to do anything in my life except for surf in my money vault, of course. But I've got a lot of people pledging quite a large amount, which is kind of crazy to me, because I never actually expected anybody to do it. And the perk that they get for pledging that large amount is they get access to the unlisted videos, because I upload on a schedule, and I release videos on a schedule, and what happens is, when I'm doing a long playthrough, I generally get quite a backlog of videos stored up, and it enables me to consistently give content every single day. And these people get access to this. And this is causing some abrasion on the channel, but it's only with idiots, so I'm not going to address it more than this sentiment. If you don't pay for FastPass, don't complain about not having FastPass. Everybody has to queue. It's called life. But another thing that is worth mentioning on Patreon is there have been a lot of failed transactions, which I need to talk about. So I'm going to try and do this in the best possible way I can, because whenever you mention services like this, people just think you want money for free, which there's no such thing as money for free in this world, guys. There really isn't, unless you're, some kind of really, really lucky dude who bought one lottery ticket and won the lottery, boom, it's essentially money for free. But that rarely happens, and when it does, it always happens to the fucking crack addict knobhead, doesn't it? I saw that program, fuck that guy. But with Patreon, the people who support me are amazing. They enable me to do so much, and they fund so many things on the channel. It truly is breathtaking at times to have somebody selflessly do that, and I think it's wonderful, and it's one of the biggest motivators I have. But I only want people to do it if they can afford to do it. Like, I don't ask anybody to give me anything, because I want it to come from them. I want them to feel like they want to, and if they do, that is amazing and it's incredibly humbling. But if they can't afford it, don't do it. Like, please don't do it. Please just stop right now, because there's no point. I don't want to be taking money out of your pocket that can be going to better things. Like, if you're in a position of affluence and you feel like you can put something towards, that's amazing, but you don't have to do it every month, and it doesn't have to be a ridiculous amount. And if there ever comes a time where it's not realistic, stop. Just stop. And the reason I'm mentioning this is when, at the end of every month, when I get the payout from Patreon and it tells me how much, Patreon takes, how much PayPal takes, or whatever the services they use, where they take like their fucking 12% or whatever it is, it also shows me when people paid, and it shows me people who didn't pay. And every single month, I've had 5 or 6 patrons that didn't go through, that were cancelled or broken or whatever. And I don't know if this is the account details were set up incorrectly. I don't know if there wasn't enough in the people's banks. I don't know how this works. And I also don't know if this fails when it tries to draw it, if it's going to fine you. Because in where I live, for instance, if you have a direct debit set up and somebody tries to take it and there's no money in, you can get a service charge from the bank. And I worked in customer services at a call centre where I dealt with these a lot, and some of these banks, it's like 40-50 quid, which is like $70-80. So this is a lot of fucking money for these service charges if these happen, and I'm not sure if they will. It's just this thing of, as much as it sucks that I'm not getting this support, even though, once again, if you can't afford it, just don't do it. It could suck even worse for you, because you've set this thing up thinking it's just going to do its own thing, and you're supporting me, and that's amazing, and then you're getting all these service charges because it's not gone through correctly, and you don't see it until your statement, and before you know it, there's a 50 quid fine there. I have no idea how this works. All I'm saying right now is, if you are pledged to me, please go into your Patreon, please double check things. If it's a problem with funding, just cancel your pledge, get rid of it, it's all good. If it's just a problem with details, you can fix it, it's entirely up to you, just double check, because the last thing I want is for people to get fined when they're trying to do something good for somebody else, because that's the worst. And banks don't give a shit, dude, they really don't. You're just a commodity, they just want more. So I wanted to address it because I haven't mentioned it because I was hoping it was just a mistake. Maybe it's on Patreon's ending sometimes, I don't know, but just make sure it's not on yours, because if it is, bank charges blow dick. And they're very difficult to waiver too, unless you really pull out the violin and the disabled children. But keeping with Patreon, I'm going to name some people who pledged and thank them in this order. I'm also might have mentioned a few people before because my software for keeping track of this wasn't working too well. But I'm going to go down the list of the names, and instead of thanking people individually, I'm going to thank them as a whole, because sometimes it can get a bit awkward when I'm saying different ways of saying thank you, and you get to the point where there's nothing left to say. So, Mika, Alex J, Nick, Chance, Enrico, Jammer, Matthew, and Gopher are all recent additions to the Empire. Thank you very much for your support, people. Everything helps. Like, just watching the videos is makes me grateful enough, but the fact you took that extra step to really try and help this become something great it's amazing. There literally aren't words, so I'm not going to waste them trying to explain it. But I'm indebted to these people, I'm eternally grateful, and if anybody had the perk of requesting a project, or requesting a video or a game to cover, I haven't forgot, guys, I'm just waiting to get them. I still remember Shadow of Colossus, I still remember, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I've got a good memory for that kind of stuff, it's just my rental service is a piece of shit at times. Sending me fucking Assassin's Creed and Shadow of Mordor, I don't get what I want ever. But there you go, it's just the nature of the beast. So, let's talk the channel, shall we? Ooh, before I talk the channel, I should really mention my blog, which isn't really a blog, it's just a platform for written things. I'm going to link it in my About Me page on my profile on YouTube. It's essentially a link to my blog, as it's called, on blogger.com. I'm going to be putting up the written reviews whenever I make reviews for games, for the people who actually want to read it rather than listen to it. You might wonder why you would do that if there's a video. Well, some people prefer it, and a lot of the stuff in the written review is sacrificed to make it a little bit more concise, a little bit more, easier to roll off the tongue. So you do get extra tidbits and extra different critical analyses and whatnot. I might make blogs from time to time, but for the most, I don't know. Sometimes it can be really cathartic, but it's one of those things where you have to sign up to interact with it, and it's another one of these systems to sign into to interact with me, which is a pain in the ass as it is. We've already got fucking Twitter and Patreon and all this other stuff. Which reminds me, guys, if you're sending me messages on Patreon, I probably won't see them for ages because I check it very rarely, because logging into this is a piece of shit and I hate it. Like, I check my emails first and it's easier that way, but a lot of the times when I'm going into Patreon, it's a nightmare. So if you can ask it on YouTube, it's so much better. Unless it's something personal, then you can maybe do Twitter, or you can try Patreon and I'll try and get back to you. But if I don't reply immediately, it's just because I'm not being notified. I've got a lot of email addresses, it gets really confusing. But the channel, we have a lot of projects running right now. It's kind of a clusterfuck. None of them will be cancelled, and if they are, I will tell you. One of the things that's a continual principle of this channel is I don't cancel projects. I think I've cancelled 2. One was Destiny, because I hated the game. One was Resident Evil 6, because I hated the game. That is literally it. Those are the 2 projects I've cancelled. There's a chance I might cancel the Portal 2 co-op guide, because I think when I lost my hard drive I lost a lot of the footage, so I might not be able to finish it, but until the point where I can guarantee that's a yes or a no, assume it's going to continue, although it's taken me, 3 years, 4 years to get it out. It's kind of like the joke of the old schoolers who are still with me since the beginning, which is annoying, but it's just how it happens sometimes. It's unfortunate. But at the moment, there's a lot of projects running. A lot of playthroughs running. And there are a lot of games coming, but they're coming at the end of August, and then as we get into September, it starts to get a little crazy, and that's when it goes full brunt on new games. But at the moment, it's going to be focusing on older stuff. So we have Conker's Bad Fur Day that's running. That's going to be getting a lot of emphasis, guys. It's not too long, the playthrough probably. It might be about 20 parts, so it should be up well in time for those new releases. God Hand is about the same, only it's more parts because some levels are shorter. I haven't recorded the entirety of both of those because my hard drive at this moment in time is getting really full. So I'm making a focus on getting rid of Witcher 3 because it's been running for a while now and I want to push the conclusion as quickly as I can, which I've been editing today to do some of the last few videos. But that's going to be coming to a close. Final Fantasy X just closed, which is nice because it frees up space for these other projects to fit into. And then there are projects that have been running that still need episodes adding, like the Wonderful 101, like the Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep section that's been going up every so often. There are a handful of different things happening right now. A lot of people have been asking about other things along the lines of Balls Deeps, and somebody asked the other day about Street Fighter. Those kind of videos will still exist, guys, but they're going to be quite rare, because at the moment I'm making a big push on these projects that are running, and I appreciate that maybe there's something that's not to your taste that's happening on the channel right now. Like, we've got some pretty grand RPGs, we've got a really confusing and bizarre action game happening, and then of course we've got the adult platformer that is Conquer. But hopefully, you know, come the end of August, come the beginning of September, there'll be something definitely that you're interested in, be it between the Gears of War remake and the new difficulty, or Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, which is going to be really, really strange having seen this crazy relationship that's happening with Konami and everything. But that's pretty much the channel in a nutshell that's going forward. We've just hit like 24,000 subscribers, which I'm really grateful for. I wish that number was astronomically higher, but it's one of those things where I pretty much accepted at this point that I'm just an acquired taste, and my content is what it is. You either like it or you don't, but for the most, you don't find it, so you don't really get to make that decider. And, you know, that's okay too. We'll just keep on keeping on with the mentality that Rome wasn't built in a day. Anything else to mention? That is a good question. So one thing that I'm making a push on in this next month, hopefully, is having a private internet line fitted in my house that I will pay for and that I will moderate, so that I will essentially get all of it. It will be mine. Nobody else can leech it, nobody else can fuck with it, and I'm hoping it's going to be considerably better than the one I have. Of course, the infrastructure where I live is terrible, because we're essentially a giant farm in the middle of the arsehole of the country. But still, it's better than what I'm on right now, and it's going to open up a few doors. The first thing it's going to open up is live streaming, and if I can get this to work the way I want it to work and the way that I'm like projecting it to work, I will be live streaming close to every day. It might only be for like 2 hours on one day, or it could be for 7 hours, I don't really know, but I'm going to try and get into the pattern and the lifestyle of live streaming everything that I'm not covering on YouTube, essentially, to build a community there from the people that are on YouTube that enjoy Twitch, and just to push another avenue stream of revenue, basically, because Twitch can be quite lucrative if you can get a good following, and it's just another opportunity to play games that I love and to share it with people who love it too. It opens up the ability to do a lot more multiplayer and maybe even do subscriber events, because the one thing that's always restricted me outside of like the time zone has always been the internet, and a lot of people are always asking for that kind of stuff, and it's just completely unrealistic as it stands. But with a new internet line, it might be less unrealistic and much more manageable, so it's definitely something to look into and to look forward to. However, I make no promises, folks. I truly don't, because if there's one thing I know, that when things start going good in my life, something fucks up or somebody dies. So there you go. But that's pretty much it, folks. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. A new intro is coming. It's about 2 years overdue at this point, but it is coming. I've still to make it, and I've still to get the After Effects to make it, which was on my laptop, which died, which is the reason why I haven't made one for a while. But once I do, it won't take long at all. I have a portable hard drive that's got the optical flare tech that was made by, I think it's Copilot, which is really, really good for adding fancy particles on things. The text will be quite simple, and then the video footage I already have. So yeah, so the people looking forward to that and asking about that will be coming, but it's delayed like most things, like the Gamescom footage that I'm going to be covering. I will cover it at some point, but at this moment in time, I'm so balls deep in everything else, it's kind of confusing. Like the Bloodborne walkthrough that I didn't mention earlier, because that will be running as well, but I'm intentionally pacing that in between other things to get some hype for it, because it's kind of like a labour of love, and I really like that project. I hope it does well. But a lot of stuff happening on the channel, folks. A lot of stuff happening. Hopefully something for everybody. If you've got any suggestions, feel free to leave them. I can't promise anything as usual, but it's always good to hear feedback. And just thank you for watching. You know, it's the simplest of things, but there it is. You keep the channel running, you keep the empire marching onwards, and as always, you take care now.
UAV identified. UAV online. Counter UAV up. They're blind.